As if they don't have too much on their plate. The Kings of Combat Sports Podcast, John and Wade. They'll talk about the things they did that day. They'll analyze the work of Vince and Triple H. Review a SmackDown. 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 Review a SmackDown.
Hello. It's Wai Ting and John Pollock. And this is Review a SmackDown.
Yes, it is.
SmackDown on Tuesday night from Toledo, Ohio. Holy Toledo.
Yes. How sick of that phrase would you be if you were from Toledo?
Probably as much as Austin Aries was on 205 Live. It started off with Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
He's back.
He returned for this one scene.
This is my favorite part of some of these shows. It's this person got onto an airplane for this moment. And it was Daniel Bryan, who literally was brought here to converse with The Miz and Maryse and take a bite out of an apple after making a match. And that was it.
It was a terrible waste of jet fuel. Absolutely. But the thing is, like, he's not the only person. I mean, he's probably doing more than a lot of people that were flown in. Like, you have people like Summer Rae, who I don't know if you know, John, is still traveling to these events. She's like backstage in Total Divas, conversing with a lot of the
what brand is she on?
I don't know.
I could not tell you. At all what brand.
But I mean, I'm watching
watching
Divas, and like Summer Rae's back there, and she's talking to Natty. But I don't know what role she has on the show because I haven't seen her in months.
Oh, well, maybe she's on Raw.
Okay.
However, she has not appeared on television since the draft due to an injury.
Okay. But I feel like you definitely have bodies there that, are there to earn a paycheck, but
it's weird because we got the explanation on Talking Smack that Shane has been filling in because Brie is, she's pregnant and I don't know how far along she is, but probably significantly along.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
If you follow their Instagram, you can see.
Okay, I don't. So Bryan not being there makes logical sense, but then he was here.
Yeah. I mean,
was he only here for this segment and then he takes off?
I mean, you also have the added, benefit of having Shane there to work angles, for whatever angles he.
I do feel that there's probably something to that of Shane having a regular role on maybe not the SmackDown portion, but at least having a presence every week. And to be honest, trying to give him some kind of likability factor, to some.
I don't know if that necessarily
I don't know if that's what's happening, but that could be the theory of having him on Talking Smack.
Shane is really interesting on Talking Smack because he's different than he is on the body of the show. Like, you remember when he made his return last year at about this time. The guy is extremely likable. When he came out during Raw, ultimately, stood up to the Undertaker. He was like, he got the biggest reactions on the show. But on these WWE Network shows, he just comes across like, the corporate. Like, he just seems like a very unrelatable, kind of politically correct PR type of guy. So
I find it's also, I'm noticing that like the heels have a really hard time playing off of him because they're all so respectful to Shane. Right. They're not going to push buttons with him like they have that dynamic with Bryan.
Baron Corbin, for instance.
Exactly. Yeah. Baron Corbin, Mickie James. They're all coming in and all being chummy with Shane McMahon.
Right.
And it's almost like Renee is put in the position of trying to get the most out of it. Yeah. And for these segments to work, I mean, these heels should be heels.
Yeah, especially if they are going to go ahead with these AJ rumors. I mean, they can work storylines to however they want, but to me, it just feels like the natural babyface in that feud is going to be AJ. That's how
how AJ is not a babyface and a sympathetic martyr after this show.
Yeah.
Holy Christ. Like, I felt bad for this guy by the end of all of this. I hope that is the direction they are going, because if not, holy Christ, this guy was just run through the mud over the course of the next 3 hours that we will recap here in less time. But Daniel Bryan started the show with his apple. Miz and Maryse came in stating that Toledo was a dump and they have no private dressing room, and they tried to kick out the supporting characters from the locker room, and his star power, the Miz's, feeds all of their families, and Bryan jokes that he could block off a stall in the washroom, and they did the most the most hilarious, sarcastic laugh together. And it led to Miz wanting a no DQ match. Bryan saw right through his plan that Maryse would get involved, and he made a lumberjack match with all of the supporting cast, and it will be a rematch for the IC title, which I had to think for a second which one is the IC champion, and it was Ambrose.
I find it a little like kind of amusing that they've managed to really position Maryse as this ultimate weapon that's been
the muscle.
That has been the deciding factor in all of the Miz's success lately. And they've managed to convince people that, hey, Maryse is so dangerous.
They are the Triple H and China of the modern WWE.
Yeah, I guess so.
Gosh, could you imagine in another generation, this could build up to an intermarriage match?
Wow.
Never been done before, to my understanding, at least in WWE.
Match. Okay, who would be the other?
Bryan
and Brie.
I'm saying Miz versus Maryse.
Oh, okay. I don't think they'll be doing that.
The mega marriage explodes.
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
Intergender division. It's still possible way.
Isn't there like a tennis, like mixed, championship in tennis?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe someday.
One day.
A mixed league.
Maybe. This, to me, SmackDown, that's the takeoff.
Okay.
That would be way more interesting to me every week than 205 Live.
Just mixed.
Like, you have almost like a game show element to it as well, where it's like the couples together and it builds to a match. The match is like the final stage of the show, and every week you have different couples facing each other.
They can do that. They have a lot of couples back there.
It's hosted by Corey Graves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That would keep me in my seat for that third hour.
They need a lot of new content, a lot of new ideas for this network. Maybe a couples show.
Yes.
Couples wrestling show.
They recapped Orton joining the Wyatts and the problems now between Orton and Luke Harper, which sets up our first match of the show. This crowd was chanting wildly for Randy Orton.
Oh, yeah.
Man, if they pull the trigger and he finally turns on Bray, I mean, it seems like this was not something I was all that into. I've got to say this has quietly become one of the more interesting Randy Orton storylines forever.
I don't think the bar has been set very high in recent years. Okay. Like, I mean, Randy's really hot right now. Like, he has been for I'd say a year now.
Like, this to me is working.
Yes.
And this is the most interesting the Wyatts have been since they debuted.
But Randy, previous to, I guess the meme showing up and him really taking off and them figuring out how to really push Randy, he was a really cold character for a long, long time. So I wouldn't say the bar was set that high in recent years for Randy programs.
Do you remember when he was red hot and right before the Rumble in 2009, he punts Vince McMahon, wins the Rumble. This guy was the hottest heel in the company. And then they had a February pay-per-view. Well, what are we going to do with Randy with this in-between pay-per-view? Let's have him go 50-50 with Shane. And you had this red-hot Randy Orton, and he took on the fire extinguisher, Shane McMahon, at that February pay-per-view. And we just stumbled our way into WrestleMania that year with Randy Orton. It was a very sad fall in just a couple of weeks. Anyway, match here with Luke Harper. Orton hit his draping DDT. He's staring at Bray. He calls for the RKO as Harper rolls to the floor and Orton attacks him with a back suplex onto the barricade and then the announcer's desk. They come back from break. Harper is now in control. Orton stops him, hits a superplex as the crowd continues to chant RKO, and they went for this spot where Harper was setting up for a discus clothesline, and then Randy went for the RKO, and it was badly timed, and then Harper just went for a schoolboy for a 2 count. They continued. Harper landed a super kick for another 2 count. Then Harper goes for another discus clothesline, and this time the timing is on point with Orton catching him with the RKO and wins the match. I definitely think they got their signals crossed, and one thought they were going to the finish, and maybe the other didn't think they were finishing at this point. Mm-hmm. But to their credit, because we always harp on this, when there's a blow-in spot, especially a finish, guys will go right back to it, and it's just calling so much attention to our screw-up. And instead here, they continued for another minute or so, and then did the finish, and it turned out fine, and I didn't really have much of an issue with this, and the second version did look good.
Yeah, I would assume that 90% of people watching wouldn't have noticed a problem, maybe even more than that. To me,
and Randy finally wins on TV after loss after loss after loss.
Because Luke Harper was in there to screw him up. I thought the match was actually a very average heavyweight match. I didn't think it was all that special.
They had built this up like it was going to be, I mean, you had a week's build for what was a TV match. An opening TV match.
Right. Do you think this feud is over?
No, I don't.
Do you think Luke Harper is out?
Well, we'll see because all three are in the Rumble. They made that clear.
Yeah.
So I do think that this continues in some form where probably the idea is here that Orton has tried to infiltrate the Wyatts, and that leads here into the angle after, because Bray brings Harper up to his feet and hugs him, but then hits him with the sister Abigail. So now you've had Randy that's infiltrating the Wyatts, and now they are self-destructing.
Right. That makes a lot of sense.
That's what I took from this.
That makes sense. When could you see them executing the Randy face turn?
You know, there's part of me, I hope it's not imminent. I hope that they do take their time with it. Because
are you sure that they're even doing that? Could this be something where they're actually teaming Bray and Randy for a longer?
I think the break's coming. To me, that's the Mania program for these two. It's the eventual Orton revealing himself. Mm-hmm. Though I think that there is also the option of a Bray face turn out of this, because Randy revealing it and he's back to a baby face. It almost feels like
a Bray face turn against the heel Randy Orton.
Yes,
seeing the crowd react the way they are to Randy Orton right now.
It's tough, but to me, it's just I don't want to see Randy just go back to the baby face he was pre Wyatts.
Why not?
Because I think it's a very stagnant role for him.
Yeah, because he didn't have any opponents.
I feel that Bray, remember when he did the brief babyface turn after WrestleMania and then he got hurt and he just came back as a heel, and it was one Raw main event he got and then he got hurt. I think that there is a possibility of a Bray face turn at some point. Mm-hmm. Whether this is the program to do it in or not.
I really don't feel like it is, because Randy is the crowd really wants to cheer Randy.
Now. I mean, you're right. And that's probably the direction they go. I just feel at some point, I feel Bray could be a better babyface than he should. Like, as a heel, he has all these different tools, but we put them together, and this is what we get.
Right.
It's just, it's not to me a top-level heel.
So what do you think happens to Luke Harper?
From this, I don't know if he just goes back to being the subservient to Bray, because for the story, like, he should be distanced now from the Wyatts.
Yes.
He should be. And maybe it's time that Luke Harper does break himself off. He fits so well, though, as this character.
The character is so closely tied to the Bray Wyatt character that they've tried it. They tried a singles run with him, and they didn't really give him a fair shot, but he would drastically need to rebrand himself, or at least maybe go over to Raw.
He needs to enlist his long-lost brother, Duke, Chris Hero.
What? Oh.
Look at Chris Hero. I've said this before. You look at Chris Hero.
You wanted Chris Hero to be a Wyatt?
Yes. You look at their faces, Way, they could totally pass as brothers. Okay. I have always thought when I see Luke Harper up close, I see Chris Hero's face. Like, they have remarkably similar faces.
How about their bodies?
Their bodies aren't that far off. Okay. Look at that. You don't see some Luke Harper in that face?
Sure.
Look at this guy. This guy is a Wyatt through and through.
All right. Just because somebody looks like somebody else doesn't mean you have to make them brothers.
Well, I'm just saying it's an option for this guy to come in immediately and put him on the main roster.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little concerned with Luke
You're not
Harper.
saying Harper and Hero? They'd be a great tag team on a show that needs tag teams.
Sure. It's fine. It's fine. Is that the best use of Chris Hero? And Luke Harper to throw him into the tag division.
Is the best use of Chris Hero in NXT?
No, but I don't know. It's a different topic. But Luke Harper, I feel, should be, upgraded to a main event role, or at least near a main event role, coming out of this. But unfortunately, it seems like he's just kind of, more of a side character to this Bray Orton feud. And
I feel Orton Bray is the destination, and Harper is going to be your
thrown aside
lost piece. I mean, he feels like one of those guys that come WrestleMania time, he's going to be one of many bodies in a battle royal.
Yeah.
So after we got another Rumble spot, this was Triple H talking about the 2002 Rumble. And let me just say, if Triple H sent this clip to Cory Booker, I think that he would be very impressed with his 2002 physique. This was insane.
Are we gonna get this for 4 years? Like all these Senate people, political
remarking
people,
on his body
or talking about wrestling, making little wrestling jokes.
If you thought you had seen your fill of Linda McMahon body slams new bill.
God.
Oh God.
She could hip toss you.
There's nothing I hate more than headaches and stupid wrestling headlines.
You could take Tylenol for one. Tylenol won't fix the other.
Oh God. Can't get rid of the others. Renee Young is in the ring and welcomes Mickie James, who comes out to her old theme. Mickie says that she won her first women's title from Trish Stratus at WrestleMania in 2006. She's a 5-time women's champion and a former Divas champion.
Is that necessary?
We used to have versions of our women, and I won both. I covered the entire spectrum of the female
I'm a 5-time woman and a 1-time diva.
I beat the women, and then I beat all the divas.
I get the need to, see, if it was me, I would just say I was a 6-time former champion. I don't know.
Yes,
anyway.
It was enough there. She has never stopped watching WWE, and the genesis of this hatred from Mickie is all of the new women thinking they are the first ones to do anything and going off about their women's revolution. And Alexa Bliss has been the one that has fought all of the self-righteousness of the women's revolution, which is news to me. I haven't seen any picket signs from Alexa.
Not at all been positioned as that, as any alternative to the women's revolution.
But somehow we had to explain this alliance where Mickie hates all of the women except one.
They wanted Mickie. They did this La Luchador thing. They needed Mickie to debut. This was the best excuse they could have come up with.
She respects Alexa and was drowned out here with the what treatment, and says to forget the revolution. This is the reinvention of Mickie James. Now, before we got our run-in, I will say the basis of this, I think, is sound, because part of this whole women's revolution that they've pushed, I mean, they talk about pre-2015, where this was just the world of bikinis and mud matches.
Yeah.
They've kind of just changed their entire history now, where the women were a sideshow up until now. Mm-hmm. So it's total sound logic here that I'm sure many of the women, your Trish Stratuses, your Jazz, your Molly Hollies,
or even somebody like
Mickie James,
somebody like a Nikki Bella, who, to this day is extremely proud of her run as Divas champion, and really kind of embodies that diva moniker a lot more than most, being part of that TV show and everything. But what do you think of the association with Alexa, though? Does it really necessarily make sense of that?
Yeah. I mean, they're really forcing themselves to create an alliance here between the two, because Alexa is no different than Becky Lynch, essentially.
Yeah. I thought Mickie, I thought overall she was good. Talked about her storyline well. At times, I felt like she might have been overacting a little, maybe enunciating a little too much and seeming a little bit forced. But I wonder if there's some nerves attached to, being back in the WWE for the first time.
Well, as we learned on Talking Smackway, she hasn't been in wrestling now for 7 years since she left the company. So you have to expect her to be a little rusty.
Yes.
Becky Lynch interrupts and attacks Mickie, and then Mickie tries to flee through the crowd, a spot that they are heavily utilizing at the moment. The heel runs for the barricade. And this time, Becky chases after Mickie, and then Alexa pops up out of nowhere through the crowd and just forearms her in the face. And they go back into the ring, and Mickie connected with a wheel kick, and then Becky was hit with the Twisted Bliss as Mickie tells Becky to always be one step ahead, and they left her laying.
The Alexa surprise attack was really nice, especially the way they caught it on camera. Just like she popped up out of nowhere, and it played out really well. It's interesting because this is clearly a feud between Mickie and Becky. And so Alexa being in here kind of almost feels like she's the sidekick to Mickie James rather than the other way around.
Yeah. Yeah. It's Mickie has the program and Alexa doesn't.
Yeah. Well, Alexa has her own program, but it'll certainly be the B program to this.
Mm-hmm. Then we forgot about this last week. It was 2 weeks ago. Carmella and James Ellsworth were going to go on a shopping spree. And last week, came and went, and not a soul cared or remembered that the shopping spree never happened last week. But this week, we did get a video, which, to their credit, they wrote last week. So in their chronology, it did happen a week ago. And watching this way, this reminds me of watching The Celebrity Apprentice, which I'm currently watching, which Chael Sonnen was just fired from for cheating.
Oh, he's on the show.
He was.
Is this show going to continue next year, or did they?
Oh, the ratings are definitely not great.
Didn't somebody? Oh, they had an advertiser bail out, right, or something because of the Trump Association.
I don't know. Okay. I do not know. Anyway. But there was one task where they shot the footage and they didn't get a key shot, so they had to try to save this in the editing and just turned it into a comedy thing, and it was just tons of editing they did. That's what this felt like.
What do you mean? They didn't get a key shot, so they turned it into a comedy scene?
They didn't have a particular product reveal shot, so they took what they had.
Are you talking? Was this one of the tasks for them to edit something to produce?
They had to put together a video.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Anyway, yes.
Okay.
Anyway, so going to this video sounds like they went out to do this shopping spree segment, and they came back and looked at this and was like, there is nothing funny in here at all. Is there anything you can do? And they had to search for the Wai Ting of the WWE editing department to make lemonade out of this. And, well, guess what? They did not. This sucked. And this featured quick cuts of James Ellsworth trying on a variety of outfits and finally getting one that Carmella liked. This sucked.
Yeah. I mean, I love the idea of them going out and doing pre-shoots. I don't think it's something they do enough that was very effective back, when we were kids watching pro wrestling.
If you have the right personality, this can be a great avenue to showcase that.
You have the right writers and the right producers, which I guess I can question whether or not they had here, because I thought Carmella was actually really good here. She shows a lot of personality and comfort being in front of the camera for somebody who is relatively new to the main roster. The overall kind of gist of the joke here was just more, just kind of your typical
I'm Ellsworth Presley
visual gags, and a lot of them were funny. And I think what added to kind of the lameness of the segment was that they decided to just make a musical montage, and they killed the crowd noise. And I'm assuming the crowd wasn't necessarily
they weren't laughing
either, but I feel like to hear some reaction to some of these costume changes would have at least maybe helped a little bit. But as it stood, it was just kind of a lame duck segment.
Yeah. This also featured a red turtleneck for the chinless James Ellsworth. I did not like this. Over the Top Battle Royal was next. It was 10 men, and the winner gets a spot in the Rumble on Sunday with Baron Corbin on commentary. And our fearsome lineup featured Heath Slater, Rhino, the Vaudevillains, Kurt Hawkins, The Ascension, Fandango, Tyler Breeze, and Mojo Rawley.
So are we to assume that anybody who doesn't win this will not be in the Rumble?
They shouldn't be.
Do you still have enough bodies then?
Well, so far, with after SmackDown, there are 22 people they have listed. That doesn't include American Alpha, who I would imagine are in there.
Right.
I don't expect 8 people off the roster to be in this. I would imagine there's going to be, for all we know, a Rhino could show up in there.
But how does that make sense?
It doesn't.
You lost your opportunity.
Seth Rollins would have a hell of a case to file.
Mm-hmm.
Rhino immediately tries to eliminate Slater, and the Vaudevillains are out instantly. Mojo eliminated Hawkins after draping him on the top and running at him with a right hand. Slater, then clearly getting ready for Friday's Review-A-Wai, applied a guillotine onto Victor from the edge of the apron and then arched his back and sent Victor over the top rope for the Benoit Big Show elimination spot.
Wow.
So Heath Slater definitely looking forward to Friday's Review-A-Wai, which will be out Friday morning. Connor eliminates Heath Slater. Mojo then helps the Fashion Police to eliminate Connor and Rhino. So we are down to Fandango, Tyler Breeze, and Mojo Rawley.
Who's going to main event WrestleMania?
Boy, 2 out of the 3 here, the proving ground or breaking ground success stories. Tyler Breeze, and was Mojo on that show? I can't even remember.
I don't know.
I think he was, maybe. Mojo sidesteps on the apron, so Tyler super kicks Fandango out, and then Mojo back body drops Breeze out for the win. 3 minutes and 12 seconds this battle royal went, and Mojo gets a spot and was also wearing his very generic new gear.
Well, he said on Talking Smack last time that he was going to essentially kind of rebrand himself. And
he did.
Drop a lot of the hype.
The
bros.
Zubaz.
Yeah. I mean,
I didn't even recognize him at the beginning. I was trying to see all the bodies here, and I was like, who is that guy?
Yeah. I'm assuming he's still trying to find what that new character is. But he's definitely dropped a lot of the hype bros stuff. And I think giving him, the spotlight here was a good choice. I mean, amongst all the names, it doesn't matter who would have won here. But if you're going to single anybody out, I think Mojo's just a perfectly fine choice.
I will say,
spot on the card.
His appearance on Talking Smack was maybe 1,000,000 times more effective than this appearance in this Battle Royal for Mojo.
Well, you needed this in order to set up the appearance on Talking Smack.
Yes, but how many people really watch the Talking Smack portion?
You can't just have a guy come out and do an interview without having something to talk about.
Oh, you could talk about... I'm not saying for this specific case, but why is this always the case with your Baron Corbins and your Mojo Rawleys?
Right.
That
they don't...
So much personality comes out on Talking Smack, but not the show that 2.5 million people are watching.
They have a set way of doing their TV shows, and that's usually a scripted, timed-out segment instead of, more of an organic discussion.
Speaking of organic discussions, Dasha wandered up to Nikki outside of the production trucks. And then, what a fucking line this was. Nikki, it's been alluded to that you and John are more than friends. Has it? Has it been alluded to, Dasha? It's been the fucking focus of an entire television franchise for 4 fucking years that they are more than friends. Yes, it has been alluded to.
Yeah, the rumor's true.
Is it true? You and Brie look awfully familiar. She points out that, Nikki points out that her and John are on the production truck next to one another. And we get the zoom out where they're on the same production truck. And then Nikki says, maybe it's destiny that we're on the same production truck. No, it's not destiny. This is a man-made fucking art put on a truck.
Okay.
I didn't know where this was going. Natalia came in and complains her face is not on the production truck. I defended their segment last week to a lot of resistance from people. I put my hands up during this one, okay? We are arguing about faces on the sides of production trucks.
Well, wait a second. Well, Natty's complaint is that she's not being featured.
Yes, her and AJ have a lot of gripes with the promotional side of the company.
Yeah.
She attacks Nikki and throws her headfirst into the production truck. The Destiny production truck. And Nikki is left on the ground staring up at Big John. And that's how this segment ends.
Yeah. I find Nikki really easy to dislike in these types of segments when she talks and she's kind of forced to defend her what people are trying to say are privileges, that she denies our privileges. Like
she is playing the role that she's playing the role of Triple H from a decade ago.
Yeah, but Charlotte was essentially cutting a similar promo on Monday.
Right.
Talking about how, yes, but like the difference is when Charlotte is speaking, she admits to the privilege, but on top of that, she says, yes, even though my father got me into the company, I had to prove myself, and I am without a doubt the best person on the roster, which she can really lay claim to. Nikki, on the other hand, it's a lot harder to buy, because she's clearly not, in my opinion, she's not the best. But, she does have a lot of fans. She has a lot of young girls that are fans of hers. But I just can't really buy it with her as much because when she talks, she just sounds a little ditzy. And I mean, she really does. To me, she sounds like a natural heel with that type of delivery. And I don't really buy it with her as much as I do. On top of that, she struck first here. She tried to strike Natty first, and Natty attacked her afterwards.
Well, this was after Nikki lost out on how much royalty money when Natalya threw all of her merchandise into the garbage last week. So you'd be peeved too if I took all the pro wrestling tees, I'm a Wai Ting guy shirts and tossed them out at a big event.
Yeah. They probably just sold them at a discount.
They could have. Then, the segment that we will discuss. AJ Styles comes out. Everyone is chanting for AJ. And this is becoming a recurring issue. Every week on SmackDown, the crowd loves this guy. Mm-hmm. And he pulls up the Royal Rumble poster. The poster where AJ is way in the back, and the crowd instantly boos the poster as it comes up. And everyone knew what direction they were going. I was like, this is great. This is a great, much like, what was I going to say? Mickie James complaining about the women's. You can buy that this person legitimately is upset about this. You can take a real issue and grow it into your on-screen gripe with the babyface. Mm-hmm. So he says, where is AJ Styles? I can't see where he is. I thought he was going to use a "you can't see me" joke, but he didn't. And he then...
It really is incredible, this poster.
Dude,
they had AJ back there next to Rich Swann, okay? And great, we all love Rich Swann.
But as AJ said, I'm in the back next to Rich Swann.
AJ is your WWE champion who, I mean, I guess you can argue how recognizable he is compared to obviously Cena, Taker, Goldberg, Lesnar. No, but a few rows up, I would have at least shoved him, right?
He isolates where he is in comparison to Cena, and then he calls out Cena, who comes out in his new WrestleMania line of clothing. It is a blue and orange shirt with some green mixed in.
The Florida Gators.
Yeah, you're right. With the tagline, respect, earn it.
Yeah.
To the point.
Mm-hmm.
And the crowd is chanting back and forth for Cena. And then we got some footage from the Today Show on NBC, where John Cena was the guest host, as he frequently is, and they start talking about his match this Sunday as a host referred to his opponent as some guy from Atlanta.
Yeah, this was Al Roker and whoever the
I don't know the woman's name. The hosts don't know who AJ says, and
they repeatedly refer him
like they just shit on this guy. Yeah. Like, he was the equivalent of how they would treat James Ellsworth on this show.
Yeah. And it's really interesting for me to think about whether or not, I mean, Cena obviously was going along with it, and I wonder if Cena in the back of his head was thinking this would be great for our feud, for us to refer to AJ as simply the guy from Atlanta.
I don't disagree that they could have used this, but to me, you had to have like the big AJ promo, and he should have had the final word in all of this. That did not happen. Imagine if this was CM Punk.
Yeah.
In the exact same scenario.
Wait a second though. But yeah, I understand. Pipe bomb, right?
I'm saying if this were the exact same situation, and it was Punk in the AJ role, and having his comeback promo.
Right. But the pipe bomb promo was a babyface promo. And for AJ to complain about it, to end the segment, would have been a babyface promo from AJ.
Not necessarily. To me, it's they made their champion just look like, to me, awful here. You're showing this mainstream outlet that's like, this guy is a joke. This champion on our own program.
It didn't have that effect on me, though. To me, it made the Today Show look bad. That they didn't know who this guy was. If you're a fan of SmackDown, you know how great AJ Styles is. And it was more of a kind of laughing at the mainstream public for not knowing who this guy is.
Well, that was not what followed here. Styles says he's the phenomenal one, and he's the face that replaced Cena, and that of all the excuses Cena has used about being hurt and being away, his only excuse he has left is himself, because he's a sorry excuse for a wrestler. And he asks what he needs to do to get some respect around here. He says, I fought for every inch in the WWE, and I'm not taking an inch on Sunday. I'm going to take a foot and stick it in your ass. And then Cena made his rebuttal. He says that Styles is one to complain about respect when he's told that he sucks and doesn't belong here. And he's heard this for years. And says if someone fails, they always blame Cena for burying them. And AJ's been hot here for 6 months, but he's held it down for over a decade. He wasn't built for the indie scene. He was built for the WWE and moments like this at the Rumble. And that AJ is not on his level or even the level below him. He'll do more today than AJ has done in his career, and he never complains about what he deserves. He just shuts people's mouths and says, AJ, you're not a guy from Atlanta. You're just a guy that's holding on to the title because I let you. And that AJ is like everyone else that copies him, and John Cena is still a bad man, and his time is now. As Cena leaves, and all I will say is that if AJ is losing this match on Sunday, this was a hell of a way to conclude his title reign. Like, this was the classic example of you never downgrade your opponent to such a level where you win and you've beat a nothing, a guy that's not even at the level below you.
Yeah, which suggests to me that he won't win.
I feel there's no other way to do this than AJ retaining on Sunday, but I don't know if that's the case. This was, to me, like, I felt AJ was like just left for dead here. And he was just left there just being verbally, he was ethered, and he had no diss track. He didn't even have a mumble to come back with. He just stood there taking this.
Right. To me, I try to gauge the overall success of this segment on whether or not it built my interest for the match. I'd say this heated exchange definitely did. It felt very passionate from both men. I loved AJ in this segment because he came out really pissed and it felt real. You know, it felt like he dug into whatever bitterness he had about being, I'm sure in reality, the guy was not happy about being featured right in the back next to Rich Swann on that poster. And he brought it out in his promo. He had a lot of heel attitude, as somebody who was really angry, which I enjoyed. And it just kind of feels like, okay, AJ has this gripe. And then Cena is just kind of brought out there to make his rebuttal. And Cena is he's excellent at that. He's excellent at cutting this type of promo. It's kind of retreading on a lot of what he's been talking about for years, about how, you know, I've been here a lot longer than you. I've been holding this place down longer than you have. It's just kind of the same promo he's cut many times, but it's good every time. In the end, they both got really heated, and it kind of made me want to see the match more. Now, if you kind of judge exactly what they said and think about it from a heel babyface perspective, it's not the best. It really isn't, especially because it feels like Cena is talking down to this guy who he is positioning as an underdog. And that guy happens to be your champion who's the heel, which, you know, if you're an AJ fan, really makes you want to see AJ beat John Cena.
Which we've seen, and listening to this promo, by the end of it, you ask yourself, what was the point of the SummerSlam match? What was the point of that?
The point?
AJ is not at
No,
you are not at my level. You're not even at the level below. I've let you be champion. What was the point of that clean win at SummerSlam?
Yeah, they kind of neglect that. And I'm sure it's from Cena's perspective, it's probably on purpose. Because when you're promoting a match, I think all they want to do is to make sure that you pay for the next one. You know, and that's kind of unfortunate because it shows a lack of respect for, long-term storylines. But that's what I got out of this, was just Cena just wanting to, if anything, Cena was probably thinking that he needed to somehow rehab himself from the last 2 losses in order to get people to think that he might win this one.
Yeah, I felt you had all of these things in place, the poster, the Today Show, the Cena comments to AJ, that I felt AJ, he was still in his heel shtick mode. To me, he was just going back to his catchphrases, and it didn't feel real enough to me. And I think he had more than enough ammunition to have a great promo in this and stand his ground in all of this. And have that real, like, that breaking point of all of this disrespect that's totally legitimate that you can draw from for a great promo. And I didn't feel he hit it here, and I didn't feel he hit it on Talking Smack either.
Do you think that's accentuated because Cena came so strong?
Yeah, well, and it was also Cena got the last word in all this. He just cuts this, just eviscerates him for 3 minutes, and the segment ends, and it's just so one-sided on the Cena end, and AJ's just left there taking this.
This is the equivalent of the challenger getting the clean win, or at least a tag team pinfall over the champion heading into the pay-per-view, in my opinion. And that's why I think AJ is going to win on Sunday.
Well, we'll see what the outcome is, because AJ, his character is towards this SmackDown is against me. And if the Shane direction is the one they're going with, I mean, it leads you to believe that AJ is going to go on this losing streak.
Yeah, that's possible.
And just have his breaking point at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
anyway,
that's true.
Anyway, it was a fascinating segment. Yeah. Kalisto and Dolph Ziggler, the rematch. Kalisto started out with leg kicks, and then Kalisto leaped off the second rope and turned into a Ziggler super kick, and Ziggler won in 48 seconds.
Yeah, so the storyline has been Ziggler has been losing, and therefore he's resorting to turning heel in order to try to get the advantage. He turns heel, still loses, and this week he wins.
Oh, he's found the light.
What did he do differently this week that facilitated the win?
He nearly killed a man last week, and it's reinvigorated his competitive juices.
Okay. He didn't have to do anything heelish this week to get the win?
No.
He beat Kalisto in 3 minutes.
48 seconds, Way.
48 seconds. So I don't really know, like, what the idea here was. But
what do you think happens with him in the Rumble?
He's in the Rumble?
Oh yeah, he's in.
I think he should have some type of square off with the Cruz. That seems to be the program, and they should eliminate each other.
Ziggler grabbed a chair as JBL stands up to Ziggler, but then Apollo attacks Ziggler from behind and runs him into the post, takes the chair, but then misses Ziggler and hits the post as Ziggler runs to the back. So I don't think they've announced Cruz for the Rumble, but it makes sense. He would be one of those slots in there.
Yeah. They had JBL stand up to Ziggler in response to the Lawler stuff.
I threw that idea out on Sunday. Could you see because Lawler's going to be calling the Rumble.
Right.
It's going to be Cole, JBL, and Lawler, I believe. I believe that's the 3-man team for the Rumble.
Right.
So you could definitely do something where Ziggler, he has to have some interaction with Lawler, and JBL could be the one to get involved.
Yes.
And if you have no idea, like, that's a match you could do.
JBL?
If not,
is he still able to wrestle?
He could do a match. I mean, if you needed something for whether it's that February pay-per-view or if you want to go in that direction. Like,
Cruz is your guy, though.
Yeah, you're right. That would be the way to go. But they teased JBL getting involved again tonight. So that to me says there's at least something to that.
JBL is definitely more interesting. I mean, there's a lot of upside to Apollo Crews for the future. And here tonight, I felt like he finally showed a bit of attitude because he has a real gripe against Ziggler for attacking him. But I feel like Cruz right now is still really bland. You know, I think they need to write him in more situations where he can be pissed off. But right now he just comes across like an emotionless, smiling guy right now.
Naomi was out and was scheduled for a match with Natalya, but Natalya does not come out. We go to the back and Nikki is attacking her with officials trying to stop her and yells, "I'm so sick of you." And then in a real heated moment, Nikki took off her baseball cap and threw it onto Natalya.
Ouch.
Whipped it at her.
Damn.
If the brim had hit, ooh.
Yeah, it was one of the straight brims too, not even a
That's rough.
curved hat. There's a lot of shaky cam for this particular.
It was out of control.
It was.
Naomi's back in the ring and says that it's not going down like this. This is the land of opportunity, and she's here to land her opportunity, and she is not leaving until someone steps up. So Alexa Bliss comes out and says she is not here to answer the challenge from a nobody, and asks who Naomi is again, and asks, "Who do you think you are?" So Naomi says that Alexa walks around here looking like Mr. Clean.
No, she's saying that she had a line before that saying how I'll take your hair and I'll rip it off.
Oh, and then she'd be bald like Mr. Clean.
It was not a good line.
Okay.
No.
That was one of those. I guess we were going for playing off of the prior insult. I was confused by that. I was trying to
What was the prior?
Well, she said the setup line with pulling the hair out. So you needed to get that line to understand the next one.
It was not good.
Well,
I mean, I thought, again, Naomi, much like Apollo Crews, I thought here showed a bit more personality than usual. But I think for a title program, she's really not up to standard yet. She's got a great entrance in ring. She's passable. But personality-wise, I don't think but the experience will kind of help her. But if this is the program they're going with, Alexa is definitely the B program compared to Becky and Mickey.
Yeah. She said Naomi's not worth her time and tells Naomi to say hi to obscurity for me, which I guess that will be Alexa's immediate program. Obscurity. Dasha speaks to Dean Ambrose backstage. Asks him about the Lumberjack match, and he's going to trust his instincts tonight, and he's going to do the same at the Rumble, and his instincts are to break the Miz's nose. They announce for the Rumble, Alexa, Natalya, and Mickie James against Nikki Bella, Naomi, and Becky Lynch, making it 8 matches announced for Sunday, with 2 on the kickoff, and this is on the actual show.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, the SmackDown women have had really good multi-person matches.
This will probably be fine. And you're not giving away any of the singles programs. I imagine Nikki and Natalya probably happens 2 weeks later. Probably the same with Alexa. Fuck, I always call her Alexis now. There's and Naomi.
There's an Alexis there.
Yes, a former Alexis. Yeah. And then Becky. You might get 3 female singles matches at Elimination Chamber out of the 6-woman. Main event is the Lumberjack match for the IC title with all of our Battle Royal contestants and our tag champions at ringside amongst the Lumberjacks. Ambrose clotheslined Miz to the floor and all the Lumberjacks attacked. They did the spot a number of times with the guys getting thrown down. Ambrose starts fighting off the Lumberjacks and then runs Baron Corbin into the steel post, which would play itself into the finish. Then Ambrose landed the elbow off the top for a near fall. Ambrose hit a suicide dive, fought the Miz onto the announcer's desk as the Lumberjacks are involved. Maryse then grabs the leg of Ambrose from the floor, and then he turns around into the running knee by Miz, and Ambrose kicks out of that. Miz then tries to leave through the crowd, but he gets stopped by the Lumberjacks. Ambrose dives off the top onto everyone on the floor, and then Ambrose with his lunatic lariat hits it on Miz, goes for the cover when Baron runs in, attacking Ambrose to stop the cover. Everyone brawls inside of the ring. Corbin tosses a bunch of them out, ending when Ambrose ducks and Corbin flies to the floor. Miz uses a schoolboy for a kick out. Ambrose gets up and hits the Dirty Deeds for the win. By the end, the crowd was really into the near falls.
Yeah, I thought the crowd was really hot for most of this. And it just overall felt like a fun house show main event.
Yeah, that's what it felt like in this. And teasing stuff with Ambrose and Baron Corbin, which maybe that is something for the Rumble and coming out of it. Because Ambrose I don't know how much more is left with this Miz program. That Dean does need someone new.
They definitely dropped all the Renee stuff.
Gone. Completely gone.
Completely. Which I think is for the benefit of the Dean Ambrose character.
Because that would have had to have ended with a match, and maybe they just don't want to go in that direction.
Or at least some type of on-screen match, and some type of match involving Renee either on the outside or something like that.
Because it's been alluded that they're more than just coworkers.
We'll have to confirm with Renee. But what do you see for Ambrose at Mania?
Boy,
do you think he has the belt? I mean, not that it really matters.
The IC title? Oh, Christ, maybe.
They could do the ladder match.
Yeah, they could do that option. I mean, there's nothing obvious. He's another one where it just feels he feels like in a Luke Harper role, kind of. Like, here was the guy that was such a focal point on SmackDown and now feels like he's just
maybe that's your match.
Which?
Luke Harper.
Oh, Luke Harper.
But you know what? I guess the ladder match could be a good spot for Harper as well. IC ladder match.
Yeah, you could see a bunch of those guys all thrown into something. I mean, it doesn't feel like Dean's going to have anything major.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like now, but we'll see what they do Sunday and beyond. Talking Smack with Renee and Shane McMahon. And Renee asks to have a poll if Shane McMahon should become the permanent host of Talking Smack. I think we should run this poll.
Sure, yeah.
I think we should.
Well, knowing our trolls on the polls, we could, it could be a landslide.
I feel Twitter polls are much more indicative of the public opinion than our message board polls, which lends itself to, the dumb answers. But I would love for WWE to put that poll out. Mm-hmm. Shane explains, no, Bryan and Brie are getting ready to have a baby, and he makes it clear he is just a fill-in host. So they addressed his reoccurring appearances here. He's like John Cena on the Today Show. He's not a permanent host.
Cena a fill-in host?
He's on there a lot.
Oh.
He's like a go-to fill-in for them, or guest co-host. Shane is asked about Raw, and he says he just watches clips of Raw on the website.
Yeah.
Like probably a lot too. Mickey joins them first.
Do you think they're encouraged to like say things like that? Because Bryan said that he doesn't really watch it either.
I don't know.
Character.
I don't think that this particular show is all that micromanaged. Right. I think they're given a lot of leeway to just go with what they feel their character would say. If you were actually the GM of the brand that is in competition to Raw, what would your character say? Yeah, I don't spend my Monday nights.
My question is, do you think Shane legitimately watches Raw?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I don't either.
Dude, I would say
half these guys aren't watching Raw.
I would bet you 80% of the roster doesn't watch Raw from start to finish.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a conservative number.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're at the building, you're not watching the whole show.
So
and you're not going home and watching 3 hours of Raw on your day off.
So then the question is, like, if you're just a casual fan watching this, I'm thinking, wow, even Shane McMahon doesn't watch it. Why am I watching all 3 hours of this shit?
I don't mind it for the idea that they are in competition with one another. I don't mind it that much when Bryan takes the jabs at Raw. Mm-hmm. I think there is something to it, but then you get a lot more where it's just like, if you want to go down that path that they're in competition, your intelligence gets insulted more often than not.
Right. But in the end, shouldn't they be, building up their competition?
I mean, Renee clearly watches Raw based on her reaction here. She was stunned that Shane doesn't watch Raw.
Yeah.
So maybe
Shane can get away with it.
Yeah,
I think.
Maybe Shane listens to podcasts. Mickey is on the show first, and first off, Shane stops Mickey and asks Renee, what did it feel like to be inside of the ring tonight? Something that's not that rare an occurrence for Renee to do. But maybe the first time Shane's watched SmackDown and realized Renee has appeared in a ring. So Renee says, yeah, it's a lot of pressure to be inside the ring. James feels the women's revolution began before any of these women were here and says they were a product of a revolution. And Mickey felt that she felt good for them at first, but then it was shoved down her throat, which was the complaint of a lot of people about the women's revolution tag, and sees some of herself in Alexa Bliss. Says she never wanted to be out of the WWE, and it was humbling to leave in 2010, and then plugs the Rumble and teases going for the title down the road. And that was it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so overall I thought she sounded fine.
Mojo was on next. He said that things had to change based on circumstances with Ryder's injury. They showed a replay of Mojo coming up from behind to eliminate Connor and Rhino as Shane says, "Look at this big dump." As Mojo came up. I'm like, that's one way to describe it. Look at this big dump. And this was a very subdued Mojo Rawley.
That's his new character.
Yeah, and I didn't mind it because this guy was nails on a chalkboard. I mean, he just felt like way too much.
Which I thought was the basis for a great heel. You know, this overly obnoxious bro. But he's dropped that.
This was the most relatable I feel Mojo has ever been. He talked here about how his dad sent him a screen grab from SmackDown, meaning he was probably watching it online too, with the key on the screen announcing he's in the Royal Rumble. And then the production team got the actual shot, the isolated shot with the key, and showed it on the split screen, and then says he hasn't seen his dad in a year because he's been overseas for business. Which was a follow-up question if there was ever a need for one. Your dad's been overseas on business for a year?
It's not that unusual.
Have you ever gone a year without seeing your dad because of work?
No, but I know people who have had their dads go away.
Well, I was curious what his dad does. Does he
trading overseas?
Okay. Maybe he's like the U.S. ambassador somewhere. He said how
No, his dad actually is Mojo is actually of like Arab descent, and there was like a recent house show in Saudi Arabia where he cut a promo in his native language, his parents' native language. So I wouldn't be surprised if like his parents lived somewhere far away.
Well, he said how his family always got excited every year around the Royal Rumble, and it was always really exciting. And I was like, man, in this like 5-minute interview, it's like he totally justified his inclusion in the Rumble, why it matters, why it was a big deal to him and to his family. I thought Mojo came across really well here.
He was great. He came across great. Like, you hear this dad story, and you just, how could you not like the guy after hearing a story like that? You know, if only they could let these guys tell these stories in the body of the show somehow. I feel like the most effective way of doing that is through video packages and pre-recorded interviews, like they're trying to do with, you know, Charlotte and whoever. Like, and I feel like there's a lot more opportunity for things like that, especially for somebody like a Mojo Rawley who doesn't necessarily come across that great when he's cutting kind of big promos in his old character's voice.
After Mojo left, AJ Styles was the final guest who started it by saying, "I'm here. Let's do this." With the most. This was like talking to a fighter during fight week when they don't want to do any media. That's what this felt like the start of. He says he can't stop thinking about what John Cena said, and they replayed the clip. Shane repeats that AJ's an amazing talent, but says he was verbally excoriated out there. Excoriated.
Yeah, new word.
Yeah.
I learned.
Styles says
it's Nas's other diss track.
Excoriated. Styles says he beat him 3 times, and Cena doesn't know if he can beat AJ. And that's why Cena is going about things like this. He says John Cena couldn't have made it on the indies. He can't hang with guys like him. I can work any style. Cena wouldn't have lasted 2 seconds on the indies. And is furious about being called some guy from Atlanta and corrects him, stating he's from Gainesville and that the hosts of the Today Show are idiots who don't know anything about the WWE. And then he calls Shane for the poster design, and Shane so obviously had nothing here to respond with, so he just tosses Stephanie under the bus for being in charge of the creative for the Royal Rumble poster.
That was funny.
And AJ leaves, stating he'll be champion. That was the highlight of this, was just Shane taking a shot at Stephanie for the poster design.
Rod did that. That's Stephanie's fault. Yeah. I thought, I mean, Styles here was, again, just like his SmackDown appearance, I felt like he was pulling from real emotion and real bitterness. He looked legit pissed. And I
feel Bryan would have been so much better here to play off of AJ.
Bryan would have been in agreement with AJ.
I think he would have too, and I think it would have been needed after the excoriation on SmackDown.
Right. Yeah. I didn't have a problem with AJ's appearance on overall. I think as much as you did. In the end, am I more interested in the match? I feel yes.
Hey, I'm interested in the match. I won't say this necessarily. It just was just such a way of saying
it's dependent on the outcome. If AJ loses,
like the synopsis of this show was that this guy who has been our champion for months is a nobody outside of here. And he's viewed as such, even by John Cena. And to me, Cena went too far out of storyline where these wins mattered nothing in the grand scheme of things, where Cena is above AJ Styles' star power. He definitely is. Everyone knows that. Mm-hmm. And that became the focus of this. And it's like, these match outcomes are irrelevant. So what does this even matter on Sunday if AJ wins yet again over Cena? Which I don't know if that's happening. And if Cena just wins this on Sunday, you've beaten a guy that you classified as nobody.
It's a lot like we see this happen all the time in the UFC, where the champion is often billed underneath somebody who's a bigger star but not the champion. Makes less money than, somebody who might not be the champion but is the bigger star. And you hear champions like...
This is Ronda Rousey and Amanda Nunes on Sunday.
Exactly.
But I don't know if we'll have that outcome.
I don't know either. In the end, the only thing that matters is, are you more interested in watching the match on Sunday? Are you going to pay for this pay-per-view if it was a pay-per-view? And I think
the match is going to be excellent.
Right. But I think coming off of AJ and Cena's appearances on this show, it's heightened that interest.
And then we had 205 Live. Did you watch 205 Live?
Yes, I did.
All right.
I keep saying I will not watch it, but I'm somehow dragged in every week.
See, my problem is that I'll start SmackDown around 9:00, finish it, and then what am I going to... I do want to watch Talking Smack each week. What am I going to do? Just sit around for an hour and... It's like 205 Live's on. I have no reason not to watch it. Mm-hmm. And regardless, I'm going to watch it each week, whether it's on Tuesday or not. So Tom Phillips started off the show interviewing Neville. When was the last time we had a backstage interview kick off the show like this?
I don't know.
This was a departure from typical WWE formatting.
It's interesting because 205 Live isn't really, it's almost a continuation of SmackDown.
Kind of is. Yeah. Yes. Neville says that Rich Swann lacks common sense and he showed him too much mercy on Raw but won't at the Rumble, and that Cedric Alexander, his opponent tonight, will have to kneel and pay respect tonight to the king of the cruiserweights, not the jester.
That was so bad. Oh man. Really good stuff from Neville. I really like him. I feel like...
Is he going to win the title or do you save that?
Well, the thing is, he should ultimately get the title. I think he's by far the best person to have that belt right now. But my question is, him winning it on Sunday without that much of a struggle?
And also on a show that it's just, that will be forgotten by the end of this 6-hour show.
I worry that, the title change will be forgotten. But if you're, will an extra month make a difference? Yeah. I'm not sure.
I mean, he's the focal point of the division, and it really doesn't matter when they do the title change.
It's way better with guys chasing him.
Yeah. He should be the champion going into WrestleMania with whatever they do. I mean, he's been outstanding. Mm-hmm. Aries starts off stating that he is going to steal one of Moro's dumb jokes tonight and says, "Holy Toledo, we've got a great show tonight." Corey then tells Moro to grab his phone because he has a chance to regain his crown as king of the retweets because TJ Perkins is busy with a match at the moment.
Is Perkins a retweeter?
I guess so. I don't...
Okay, I won't follow him.
I don't know if I do or not. I don't really notice him that much. TJ Perkins against Tony Nese was our first match of the night. Perkins applied an octopus submission, and Nese then blocked a neck breaker out of the corner. They had a lot of time here. Nese was in control, landed the springboard quebrada, and then draped Perkins on the top and kicked them off onto the shoulders for the gutbuster, and then applies the body scissors, Wai's favorite technique. This is a Nese staple now.
They've been watching 2004 Royal Rumble. Yeah, I mean, the rest holding is just...
This is the new bear hug.
I mean, no, it's just the rest holding in general in a lot of these matches. It's definitely more pronounced in these matches than you would see with these same guys in the CWC or in a lot of their independent matches. And so you have to figure that this is a direction from the company to tone your thing down and do a lot more rest holds. And I understand the philosophy behind it, but people want to see cruiserweights wrestle like cruiserweights. On top of that, you don't have the concern that you're burning, I guess this is coming at the end of a 2-hour taping. So
Yes.
I feel like there's a lot.
The placement is really tough.
Yeah. And these guys aren't as over anyway. So I don't know if these guys should be rest holding as much as they are on these shows.
So it ends with Perkins hit the detonation kick, sending Nese to the floor. But then Nese came back and he got distracted looking at the turnbuckle, allowing Perkins to use a Mahastral cradle and pin Nese in 8:28. That one of the announcers called an upset. I can't remember I think it was Graves. And I was just like, imagine this 3 months ago. Well, 3 months ago,
Tony
it's
Nese
like
has been
Perkins was the champion and Nese was nothing. And now Nese is the pushed guy of the two.
Is he really? I don't think his win-loss record has been all that great.
He seems to have more focus now than Perkins. Perkins
I
is
guess so.
kind of in this. He's just a guy now.
But I can't tell you, like, the last time I heard Tony Nese cut a promo, like, he complained about the ring. I remember that because that was.
He did the one last week calling himself the premier athlete in third person.
Which is what he started saying as he was walking up the ring here. And, the match itself I thought was great. I mean, it's again one of those matches where if this match took place at Full Sail or an indie show, it would be completely different if the crowd was on their side. I think Nese though is still really untested, as far as his microphone skills are concerned.
Afterwards, Nese gets the heat back by German suplexing Perkins into the corner and then hitting a running knee as Nese tells the announcers he won that match. And then Corey Graves says it was a knee that would make Semtex blush with a Paul Daly reference.
Wow.
On 205 Live.
Was this off of Bellator? Was this
The flying knee to Brennan Ward.
Interesting?
Yeah.
Did Morrow?
Well, Corey specifically said it to Morrow.
Oh, okay.
Knowing Morrow would understand the reference.
Wow, cool.
So, yeah, there you have it. A Paul Daly reference. I think that's the first time we've had a Bellator reference. I mean, you get the odd UFC fighter, but a Bellator one, that's something new. Akira Tozawa will debut next week on 205 Live, and we got comments from Sami Zayn, and calls him one of the finest wrestlers out there, and very animal.
Yeah,
he's got to have some
adjective.
animalistic nickname next week, I guess.
I don't know.
The orangutan.
Yeah.
What will Akira Tozawa be next week? Will he just be a straight up wrestler? Are we going to get a wacky gimmick?
He's not going to be an animal. Yeah, he's going to be Akira Tozawa. I don't see him like
not a different name, but a gimmick attached to him.
I don't coming out in costume.
Maybe he'll be.
I don't see anything for him that's all that different from how he came out in the Cruiserweight Classic. And I feel like these little vignettes have been really good. They had Cesaro do one, Cruz do one, Sami Zayn do one. I think they've been they've done a good job. They've been above average. Okay. But I worry because next week I don't necessarily see him getting that big of a reaction. I really don't. He'll get some reaction. He'll be impressive, but in 2 weeks' time, he's just going to be another face. I don't see that being changing at all.
Sheamus discussed winning the Rumble in 2012, a Rumble that most have forgotten. And then we had Brian Kendrick against Tripp Bradshaw.
Tripp Bradshaw.
Jesus Christ. Are you kidding me that this happened? Like, the things that this company just gets such glee out of and
so this was
runs a joke.
This was a playoff of Bradshaw tripping.
Yes.
Last week for the Jerry Lawler save.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brian Kendrick comes out and cuts a promo stating that Bradshaw isn't taking his spot and establishes this is Tripp Bradshaw's hometown, Toledo. Mm-hmm. And the world doesn't care about you because it's a cold and harsh place. He said he snuffed out Sean Maluta's dreams and will do the same if Tajiri ever returns. And Graves asks if this is any relation to Justin Hawk.
Yeah.
So then the match begins. He drop kicks Bradshaw, flips him over for the captain's hook, and taps him out at 2:02. I was really hoping that we would get a line at the beginning that it's a good thing that this is being broadcast on the WWE Network because Bradshaw doesn't do well on cable.
That took me a second. This was good.
Maybe that's why it didn't get utilized. Anyway, 2 minutes. Kendrick wins.
Yeah.
Haha.
Yeah. It was just pretty much filler. Setting up Bradshaw as the hometown guy, I think, worked to an extent. But it's just a 2-minute match.
Yeah, that was it for Kendrick. Then we went to Cedric in the locker room with Rich Swann walking in to tell Cedric to believe in himself. And Neville will try to get into his head, but he's not unbeatable. And Neville will eventually make a mistake, and then you can capitalize. Thanks, Rich. Neville against Cedric Alexander was our main event. Neville focused on the left arm of Cedric at the beginning and used a head scissors, sending Neville to the floor, and then drop kicked Neville off the apron and then hit this running penalty kick from the apron. Neville came back, tossed Alexander into the barricade, landed a missile drop kick. There was a springboard clothesline that Neville kicked out of, and then Cedric caught him with a standing Spanish fly as Neville came off the ropes for a great near fall. Neville avoided the lumbar check, hit a snap German suplex, and then a deadlift into a bridging German. They fought on the top turnbuckle. Alexander blocked the superplex and then went for a sunset flip powerbomb, and Neville backflipped onto his feet. Set up for the springboard, did Cedric, when Noam Dar ran down and Alexander turned around, dove onto Dar, and then Alexander went back and went for the springboard a second time, but in rushing to do so, slipped on the top right into Neville's Rings of Saturn for the submission at 14:25. I thought this was a great finish.
Yeah, great match overall.
This was really good.
Match of the night by far, including SmackDown, of course. And the finish I thought was great. I think it's kind of daring for any performer to intentionally botch a move in order to set up a finish because they know that, they're going to face a bit of criticism.
Who
which
cares?
Is stupid.
Yeah,
which is,
this was great.
But this was obviously very intentional, and I thought it worked perfectly.
Yeah, it made great sense. And
yeah.
It's like I'm watching this match and you're seeing they're getting a lot of time, and in your head there's going to be some interference. And I didn't have any problem with this. This was not interference that insulted your intelligence or made you feel like you wasted your time getting into this match. Yeah. I really liked this.
It was a legitimate distraction in that it caused him to fuck up a move. It wasn't just a schoolboy roll-up.
Yes. Or his music playing.
Yeah.
So Dar then taunts Alexander afterwards, but Neville just tosses Dar to the floor and he attacks Alexander by himself, leading to Rich Swann running out, and they fought with Rich Swann being very aggressive as they went off the air and plugging the Cruiserweight title match for Sunday.
Yeah, I think Neville right now, he just seems like somebody who's in the zone, just a far different level above a lot of those guys in terms of in-ring, in terms of character. I'm actually just really impressed with his heel work. He's somebody who seems to portray his character at all times in the ring. He's beginning to work a slower style, but it's not boring because he's so aggressive. And, to be aggressive doesn't always mean you have to be fast. And I think he's really interesting and fun to watch. And also credit to Cedric in this match for his selling. Great facial expressions. I hope Cedric, gets a bigger babyface push coming out of this.
Yeah. I'm with you. I thought that match was the best match of the night. So we go to the Law message board now, and we will hear from some of you. Alexander from Portland writes, the Cena-AJ feud has lost a ton of momentum. AJ brought up some great points to the table with his placement on the roster and Cena calling him a nobody, but Cena's retaliation has me conflicted. I really like the idea of cocky Cena, the 15-time champion that constantly brags about his accolades and thinks everyone is beneath him, but him cutting that promo against the champion, the guy that pinned him in their last two encounters, did not work for me. I hope Styles wins clean because I don't know if I want to see any more of these two after the Royal Rumble. How long until we get a Cruiserweight ninja competitor a la Suicide from TNA?
Like a ninja?
An actual ninja.
Like a ninja gimmick?
Yeah.
I hope not. I mean,
great Sasuke.
Tozawa is coming next week.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Mask guys.
Yeah, all ninjas have to be masked.
We go to Lay, who says, I really like the use of Mickie James and Ellsworth enhancing their partners. Carmella is incredibly beautiful and has improved pretty steadily despite her being a little older, age 29, and having limited experience. Alexa is probably a personal favorite promo out of the women. She has a great look and is only 25 years old. Her in-ring isn't bad, but has room for improvement since she's a great young athlete. I like the Alexa-Mickie pairing because they can feud down the line. As a gamer, TJP's entrance is really satisfying. Incredible match between Alexander and Neville, but that botch at the end wasn't intentional, or was it? I would have to think so.
Of course it was intentional. It was the finish. Let us continue with Mark from Vaughn. His question is, if you had the power, what's the one match you'd want to see booked for Mania more than any other?
I could book one match with all the guys on the roster.
Guess you can have your pick.
Is Finn Balor back?
Probably not.
Okay.
But whatever. What would be a match you would want to see this year?
Of all the people on the roster, I mean, Rollins Triple H seems to be the right match. Goldberg Lesnar seems to be the right match. I would book. AJ Taker, I would say.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of. They're all involving AJ to me. I would love to see AJ and Rollins get 30 minutes on a pay-per-view. That would be great. Not the direction they're going, but to me, it's like AJ's not a young guy. He's the same age as John Cena. So you're only going to have so many big match opportunities for the guy. Yeah. So, yeah, I'll say Owens and Jericho. I think it's going along well. I'm looking forward to that. I think that should be a good next couple of months of build to that.
We go to Benji from Regina, who says, since it's the 1-year anniversary of AJ Styles being in the WWE, I just wanted to post and say that AJ is the reason I actually watch wrestling again, and I just listened to your guys' reviews about what happened. He's the reason I bought tickets to a house show here in Saskatchewan. He's the reason that my daughter and I can watch wrestling every week. Her name is AJ too, so she loves him. And as for tonight, AJ and John Cena did such a great job with their promos, and they were both effective. I can say this because John Cena's promo absolutely annoyed me and got me angry that I want to see him get beaten so bad now this Sunday.
That was kind of the feeling you were left with.
Unless you're a Cena fan, then you're cheering.
Maybe. Brandon writes, with the announcement that Shane McMahon will be the special guest host for Talking Smack this evening, I realized just how long it's been since we've seen Daniel Bryan on TV. It was then that I put on my Royal Rumble conspiracy theory hat and began to wonder if the reason, beyond Bree's pregnancy, that Daniel has been away from TV was that he has been cleared to... No. No, he's not. Do not go with that one in your Royal Rumble pool, folks. It will not be Daniel Bryan.
We go to... People will never give up.
No, they won't.
You'll never give up. Okay, we go to Randy in Melbourne. This was probably one of the weaker SmackDowns in the last few months. I didn't like the Styles Cena segment this week. Cena was back to disrespecting, bordering on burying his opponent. Other than that, there was really nothing memorable or noteworthy about the show. Has Daniel Bryan been removed from SmackDown Live? Did they get sick of him? No, the guy was on
TV.
Beginning of the show.
Yeah. I don't think there's really much more than his wife is close to having their first child. And
I guess Shane needs the airtime on Talking Smack.
Yeah. And to be honest, there hasn't been a whole lot of need for an authority figure on TV every week.
Do you see him getting phased out, though? Because, like, when they do have a child, Bryan, from the sounds of it, never really intended on, doing this, being a full-time GM.
Yeah. I think he'll be... I don't think his appearances will be all that frequent. I think he'll still have a role on the show, but yeah, maybe not as much as we've seen over the last couple of months. Chris from Toledo, who went to the show. It was an okay show for the go-home. I was expecting more participants for the Battle Royal, but it didn't surprise me that Mojo was pegged to go in. The Miz-Ambrose match was sort of comedic when you see everyone beating on the competitors while the Usos stood in the background being the instigators of the situation. The Cena-Styles confrontation was the highlight of the night for me. Watching Cena verbally destroy AJ was quite a treat. All that was missing was the Baby Ruth toss. As for 205 Live, there was a big pop for hometown enhancement talent Tripp Bradshaw and a chant of 419, the area code for Toledo, and T-Town Beatdown. I was definitely into Neville and Cedric Alexander, even though it was flat after Cedric slipped off the rope. Overall, I give it a combined 3.5 out of 5.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Like, that's why I feel like a lot of guys are hesitant to do, like, botches intentionally, because I think it'll people will interpret it as if it was a real botch.
I would never give a shit about that. To me, it was a great idea for a finish, and let people think that. Think it's even better. That's what you want to convey. Yeah. It's like, who cares?
What is the Baby Ruth toss? What's that in reference to?
I don't know. Is it a Sandlot reference?
I don't know.
Baby Ruth?
That's a candy bar.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was the joke in the Sandlot when he's reading off the ball.
Yeah. Okay. Rob McDonald. Hey guys, I am now 100% convinced that the Wyatt family storyline is going to turn into the revelation that Orton has been slowly conning the Wyatts against each other for the past few months. The smirks on Orton's face where Bray hit Harper last week and gave him the sister Abigail this week are helping me confirm this. I know that the story has been kind of done with Daniel Bryan in the past, but I think they are taking this to a more subtle area similar to the movies where a character is going undercover, i.e. The Departed.
Yeah, this is like Ricky Reyes in Lucha Underground, where he's working undercover for the cops.
Yep. All of this will lead to Bray exiling Harper from the Wyatt family. When the Wyatt family only consists of Randy and Bray, Orton will strike and officially turn on Bray and give the crowd the RKO they've been waiting for, cementing the plan that Orton put in place when he said, if you can't beat them, join them.
And then Bray no longer has his Wyatts next to him, and Randy gets him one-on-one.
What about Eric Rowan? Where's he? Isn't he ready to come back?
Yeah, he'll have to come and quickly be disenfranchised. Hey, give them credit for like a long-term, like this started when? In October?
Yeah.
And if that peaks for WrestleMania, I mean, bravo. If it's working so far, the audience is into it.
The audience wants Randy to turn.
You've done just enough hints without making it blatant. I've liked it. Next one here. It might just be me, but it seems like they're teasing an AJ Styles face turn in the next couple of months, especially after his performance on Talking Smack. The problem being they're running out of main event heels or main event performers in general. Would really hope any NXT call-ups would find their way onto SmackDown. Heard you guys on the law, but I'm really glad Mickie came as a heel. Her heel work against Trish is probably the best and most memorable of her career. I'd like to get her away from Alexa, though, as her and Becky might be an interesting feud, with Alexa moving on to Nikki.
Okay, we go to Carl, who says, this show left me feeling like no one on this roster. This show left me feeling like no one on this roster has a hope in hell's chance of winning the Rumble. Who on this show made you feel like they stand a chance at winning on Sunday?
On SmackDown?
I mean, you have Baron, Mojo Rawley, the Wyatts.
Mojo.
The Wyatts, and who else? Who else is also, I mean, Taker? That's it.
Not really SmackDown, I guess, if
Yeah.
you're looking at The Undertaker. Yeah, certainly it's not the star power of the Raw entrance.
But doesn't mean that none of them have a chance.
No, it doesn't. As I've said, like with the title being defended at Elimination Chamber, it seems it would be more logical that a SmackDown guy does win.
I don't know.
They might go with that. Final one is Aditya here from India. Weak SmackDown this week. What happened to the Vaudevillains? Get humiliated every time they're in the ring. How can Big Cass put his name and American Alpha can't? That's not fair. A better Lumberjack match in a while, and SmackDown having just 2 matches for the Rumble and 8 guys for the Rumble match makes SmackDown look weak. Need tag teams to be serious on SmackDown as there are no challengers for American Alpha. Yeah, they were kind of just in place here on this show. Very small role for American Alpha as Lumberjacks, but I expect both to be in the Rumble on Sunday. Not that it's, a major additions, with them, but nonetheless, that's going to wrap up the show. We will be back, later this week with Review-A-Wai on Friday, reviewing the 2004 Royal Rumble, which was from Philadelphia, featuring a lot of blood. We will chat about that.
We built up this
it's
Review-A-Wai
huge.
quite big.
Promoted it better than they did in 2004. So that is coming out. We'll have a new What's Next out on Thursday. And of course, Sunday night, it is the Law at 11 Eastern, right after the Rumble, as we will go through all of the events that go down in San Antonio, Texas. And of course, get your picks in, royalrumble.info. All the TV is done now. You can submit your picks up until noon Eastern on Sunday, and then we will announce the winner on Monday's Review-A-Raw.
Yeah, and right now on our YouTube, youtube.com/live audio wrestling is a Daniel Lavansky's full interview with Ryback that was conducted this past Sunday.
Yes, you can go to our YouTube page or liveaudiowrestling.com to watch that, and we'll chat with you later on this weekend.